I work with the entrepreneur. We capture their unique voice. We drive in from their own purpose, their stories, and we create a master pitch. And we've got a targeted list of podcasts that we know will be profitable for us. And then we take that part, which is most of the ongoing work, and we outsource that. We hire a VA to be part of our team to do that on a very part-time basis for us. So the role of the entrepreneur becomes showing up and doing high-quality interviews in the things that they love to teach about and that they're experts in. And once we do that, we've got a machine running, if you want to visualize that, right? So what do we do? What's the output of the machine? Well, the output of the machine, if you capture it correctly, is profit, right? It's growing your business. It's getting you quality leads, growing your authority, and growing your email list.
You're listening to the 7-Figure Leap podcast. We're here to leverage rich relationships and smart strategies to take your business to the next level. Here's your host, Dustin Riechmann.
Welcome back. In this episode, I'd like to do a solo deep dive. So you'll start to see the cadence of our episodes here, where some are interviews with up-and-coming experts. Some are interviews with some of my best students and success stories. Some are mastermind sessions where we get to hear inside the room of what's happening in some really effective mastermind sessions. But from time to time, I like to do a short, deep dive strategy session where I simply teach something that I know would be super impactful and super helpful to your business and on your own 7-Figure Leap journey. So today, I want to take you inside my framework that I teach inside my Podcast Profits Accelerator program. So there's a 5-step framework. And I use this framework really with every type of product or service that we do around podcast guesting, because it's super effective and it's it'll become very apparent to you where you could tighten up your own approach to this topic, right? So I'll just jump right into it. I'm going to talk about what each of these 5 Ps are, and then we'll unpack a little bit some of the strategy behind applying this framework to grow your business. So real quickly, there's 5 of them. They're all Ps on the path to profitable podcast guesting. Number 1 is purpose. Number 2 is plan. Number 3 is pitch. Number 4 is perform. And number 5 is my favorite. It's profit. Okay. So what do each of these P's mean? And they're in sequential order. So when people start our accelerator program, the very first thing we do is we get really clear on purpose. And that is establishing why you want to be on podcasts in the first place, right? You'd be amazed. Maybe you wouldn't. Maybe this is a question you hadn't thought about for yourself either. People would say things like, yeah, I'd love to be on podcast. Or like a very common scenario for me and the people I serve is they'll say, I got on a couple podcasts organically. It was awesome. I got some coaching clients out of it. Man, I'd love to be able to do this more systematically. Great. The other bucket I see a lot is, hey, Dustin, I've been on 50 podcasts and I haven't made a dime from it, right? And so that's also something we can address. And typically it's one or more of these 5 steps that are off. But more often than not, especially in that last scenario, it's that they never actually establish their goals for the podcast guesting efforts, right? Who's your ideal client? What's the transformation you provide? That has a lot to do with where you want to show up. So step 1 is getting really clear on your purpose and why you're doing this. Step 2 is the more research-oriented step. It's plan. It's now we know why we want to be on podcast. Now we're going to just decide which ones we want to be on. So this is establishing the shows you want to be on is step 2, and plan. Step 3, once we know which shows we want to be on, we have to get on them, right? So step 3 is pitch. And pitch simply means to compel the host to have you come on and teach and serve and tell stories to their audience in a way that generates a win-win-win relationship. And when I say win-win-win, the 3 winners are you as the guest, the host, and their audience. So if you do a good job, you're going to get great exposure to your brand and to your services. You're going to grow your email list and do lots of other things we'll talk about on a future episode. But for the host, they're going to win because they have a new source of fresh content, great teaching, insights, new stories. And the reason they're winning is because the ultimate winner here is the audience. They get to receive from you this great teaching, right? And this again, these insights, this inspirational content. So when I say pitch, some people cringe a little bit. Pitch is a positive thing here because what we're wanting to do is compel them and show them, demonstrate the value we can provide to their audience So they happily say yes, invite us onto their show to conduct this interview. So recapping real quickly, purpose, why do you want to be on the shows? Plan, which shows should you be on? Pitch, how do you get on those shows? Now we're into step 4. Now they've said yes. Great. We've got an interview scheduled. Step 4 is perform. So this is an area I spend a lot of time coaching people, and it's how do you tell really compelling stories? As you may know, I'm a story brand guide, so I love using story brand frameworks in this. But how do you tell really compelling stories that really motivate people to not only stay engaged in a conversation, but be just waiting on the edges of their seat, wanting to know what's next, right? Like, so when you make a clear call to action at the end of this podcast interview, people go take it, right? So oftentimes that's getting them to come opt in for a free resource, take an assessment, download a PDF, access a video, access a workshop, those sort of things. It could be like a strategy call. It could be an entry-level product. There's lots of different ways we can call them to action. But to make them feel compelled to actually go take that action, you've got to do a really good job with your interview. And that's what step 4 is in perform. Step 5 is profit. So now we went through the effort of understanding, like establishing a really clear strategy on why we want to be on podcasts and what we're going to do with it in relationship to our business. We've found the right shows. We've got on those shows. We've told really compelling stories and had a really good interview. And we've called people to action. So when we call people to action, that's really the bridge over into profit. So how do you actually grow your business exponentially through podcast guesting? And so step 5 in my accelerator program, that's really the emphasis of the accelerator program. We do steps 1 through 4, but we do those in just a couple weeks. It actually does not take a lot of time when you do this right and you do it super efficiently to get the podcast guesting system up and running, meaning the finding and the pitching of the shows. And then in most cases, what we're going to do is actually outsource some of that work once we've established it. So in other words, I work with the entrepreneur. We capture their unique voice. We drive in from their own purpose, their stories, and we create a master pitch. And we've got a targeted list of podcasts that we know will be profitable for us. And then we take that part, which is most of the work, the ongoing work, and we outsource that. We hire a VA to be part of our team to do that on a very part-time basis for us. So the role of the entrepreneur becomes showing up and doing high-quality interviews in the things that they love to teach about and that they're experts in. And once we do that, we've got a machine running, if you want to visualize that, right? So what do we do? What's the output of the machine? Well, the output of the machine, if you capture it correctly, is profit, right? It's growing your business. It's getting you quality leads, growing your authority, and growing your email list. And so step 5 is profit. So again, we spend a couple weeks in the accelerator on the first 4 steps, and then we spend like 80% of our time building systems and sales funnels and going through things like how to have a better offer and how to be very referable. And it's all about business outcomes. And that's why you've heard me talk on a previous episode, perhaps, about my core promise. And in the episode we did with John Meese, that's what inspired me to go through this framework. My core promise of my accelerator is to add a 6-figure marketing channel to your business by telling the right stories on the right podcast to generate your leads, right? And so that's why the accelerator has such a focus on the business building aspect of this, right? The podcast guesting is important, and it's our vehicle that we're choosing in this case. But we spend a lot of time and energy growing the profit machine that comes from this. So I'm getting ready to give a signature talk on this and another component of this that I'll cover in a future episode at Traffic and Conversion Summit in Las Vegas. So you're getting some behind the scenes content here in advance of that opportunity. So thank you for tuning in today. If you have questions about this 5P framework, the path to profitable podcast guesting, absolutely come to our website at 7figureleap.com. You can book a call right there. It's a free call. We would love to talk about this and strategize with you about this and how we can apply this to your business. And see if you're a good fit perhaps for the accelerator or anything else that we do. But I really appreciate your time and attention and the ability to go deep and teach on this very important strategy. I will see you on the next episode.